Welcome to People, Passion, and Purpose. Charlene here. I'm so excited to be here with Marcus
Aliaga.
I know Marcus for over 10 years and I've never said his last name. Let's be honest.
That's a good sign.
Right? Let's be honest and authentic, what this show is all about.
Because if you have to say my last name, it's never a good thing.
Aliaga.
Marcus Aliaga.
Marcus Aliaga. So I'm here to share a really great story of passion and how a passion and turned into a purpose, like a real purpose, a purpose for Marcus's self and also a purpose for all of you. So let's get started on the interview. So Marcus, we're sitting in a new boutique, one-of-a-kind boutique in Montreal. It's going to start in Montreal, and who knows where it's going to go? Who knows where it's going to go? It's called Alltrueist, and it's in the Place Ville-Marie building, and it's absolutely stunning. And so, but let's just backtrack because it didn't just start yesterday, even though it just opened a few days ago.
Correct.
But let's backtrack to where this idea of having sustainable products and working with companies who care about the environment and pay real attention to what they're using in their products. When did that interest for you start?
So it really started, well, for everybody here, I'm originally from the US, so from San Francisco. So back when I was in California, I was working for a lot of big luxury brands. And I just remember one day, because I always had to be dressed up in suits and all that, and I just wanted to start buying for myself responsibly made suits, shirts. But this was like 2009, 2010. And I really couldn't find anything. And even in San Francisco, which is like a big cosmopolitan city where it's great shopping, you just couldn't find stuff that was like, whatever was eco-friendly was like cotton t-shirts. It was very much at that point, especially more eco hippie-ish. And that's really not what I wanted. And I knew at that point, okay, I can't be the only one feeling this way. So that's where the idea, like the seed was planted. I'm like, okay, I know I can't be the only one.
Okay, so basically, what you're telling me is that you've always been interested in sustainable products, like for yourself.
Yes, and where I got inspired.
Yeah, where did that come from?
So I was working at one point for a big department store, and they had introduced a line of shoes, Tom's, which is now super famous. But at that time, it was just launched, and Tom's was doing 1 for 1. So you buy one shoe, and one pair of shoes is given to a person in need. And to me, that whole concept, it was the first time I was hearing, like, okay, like a brand is actually doing something good. And that's really where, like, I bought my pairs of Toms, I would wear them, and every time I would wear them, I felt like, okay, I'm doing something good.
Right.
But I knew, okay, that's really cool, but there has to be more. And then there was a few other brands that came out and a few more brands. I'm like, okay, there's something there, but everything that I'm finding, even though I like what the brands are doing, is just always very casual and very, just for jeans, pretty much, like that type of attire. And that's really kind of like how I got interested.
Okay.
But then looking for myself is when I was like, okay, I can't really be the only one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So jumping to 2014,
right.
I moved to Canada. Because during that time, from 2009 to 2014, I had written down everything that I wanted to do. I bought my domain on 2011 for Alltrueist.com, even though I wasn't really doing anything with it. But I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't have time because I was working all the time. So when I moved to Canada, I had time because I was doing all my paperwork. I'm like, okay, you know what? Now I have time to actually sit down and research. So the more I started to dive into sustainability, because at that point I really didn't know too much about sustainability. I know like what I wanted to see, but I really didn't know the industry, like the production, all of that, of how things are made and why things are good, why things are bad. And then that's kind of how that started. And I started with jewelry because I do have a jewelry background. So I found a really cool brand that just honestly touched my heart. And it was a brand called Article 22 that did jewelry from recycled bombs dropped in Laos. So during the Vietnam era, Laos was bombed more than Vietnam itself. So all the jewelry that was made was actually made by people living there and NGOs recycling the bombs. So that to me was like, oh, okay, this is like, it's affecting people. It's helping people that were affected so much by something horrible that was horribly done.
Is that the spoon?
Yes.
I have that.
Yes. Yes, that's the one.
So I just want to go back a little bit, and maybe it's going to be a little personal. So let's see what we can. But I understand like that feeling that you want to be of service to people, feeling that you want to help, right? Like when I was a young girl, even at 12 years old, I wanted to join Greenpeace or something like that, you know, and travel the world and help and save everybody. Like that was, you know, so I grew up with that sort of complex of wanting to save the world. Is that like, when did you know that that's, and that's okay, even though some of it is unrealistic, but it's okay, it's who I am, and I've learned to embrace that about myself. But is like, when did your feelings of helping people, when did that start? When did that spark? Do you remember? Is there any, I'm trying to think for myself also, but.
Yeah, I don't remember there was a specific point that's what I wanted to do, but I think it was more as the more I learned about social responsibility, sustainability, then it was just growing in me like, okay, I can do something. It's fashion, you know, it's not rocket science. I'm not changing the world, but fashion could be such a superficial thing that if you put a little bit of love into it, you could do something. And I felt like, okay, making a difference. And I was touching people that had no sustainability or social responsibility wasn't really in their radar. But as I would tell stories, I would have customers like crying and giving me hugs, like, what you're doing is amazing. And that's really like, it would just really help grow that feeling inside me. Like every time, okay, you know, I can do a little more. I can do a little more. I can do a little more. So that's kind of how that
That's
went.
interesting. And do you know that in one sentence, you said, you know, it's superficial, but it's love or something like that, right? So those are two seems to be very opposing statements in a way when you think about it. So you're saying superficial because it's fashion.
And it's people just know it, like it's magazine, it's photography, it's just visual. And people tend to think, yes, it's always superficial.
Right.
But to me, having studied fashion, it's a form of language.
Right.
And you're expressing who you are, whether it's superficial or whether it has meaning. But whatever you wear expresses who you are.
It's not necessarily superficial because it's coming from within. Actually, and it's how you express yourself. Like you said. So it's actually not really superficial, and it's what makes.
I guess it's more like the message that you're trying to portray. Like whatever you wear will portray a message, and that message depends on what's in you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it could be looked at as something that's not really that superficial.
Yeah.
And you're helping people express themselves using products and using things that are sustainable.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're showing them love, the people love.
Yeah.
They're your customers love. You're showing the environment love, you know? Yeah. And then the people that are wearing your products, you know, are feeling loved, and they're going to express love because they're wearing the products that are sustainable for the world, and they feel very good about that.
Correct. And, you know, I love seeing on social media, they're tagging us, and I'm wearing head to toe, like, you know, a brand that saves the earth, that's environmentally friendly, or whatever that brand in particular is. I see they're just as proud as me seeing them wearing something that, hey, maybe if I didn't carry it, they wouldn't have found it. And, you know, just every little bit helps.
Yeah, yeah. And so, well, just today I'm wearing the EcoAF shoes. They're so comfortable and fantastic, and I love that brand. I have a few of their pieces at home. My pants are I Love Tyler Madison. And
representing.
Yes, exactly. I'm representing the boutique. And so, but you said something important, and I feel that that's so much part of who you are, and so much, excuse me, so much of how, that's not good. So much of how I've experienced you over the years is every little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So you are, or what I have learned about you, or what I get from you, is that you're very patient and you have a way of looking at everything like one step at a time, where I'd be like, oh my God, come on, let's go. We got to do it. We got to do it, you know? And you're like, one step at a time, you know? So, for example, you know, the things that brought you to this place of where you are now. So I'm sure there's people that are going to be watching that are also building a business, having a vision. And so I think your words can be really inspiring about like just, you know, how it started, where you are now, and then the progress, you know?
So it's interesting you say that about my patience, because I tend to be inside myself very impatient. However, because of the industry that I'm in now, not just fashion, but it's such a niche of sustainability tied with like higher end, I had to learn to be patient because this is still new. Sustainability in fashion, although it's like a big word now, hype, trendy, whatever, back then it wasn't, the change is very slow. The progress is taking time, because you have to think, for a brand to really be truly sustainable, doesn't necessarily come just from the brand. It comes from the manufacturing of the yarn, then the fabric mills, then, you know, whatever materials are being used. It starts way before the brand. And if that is not available and it's not ready, the brand doesn't really have much options. So as I was learning, you know, we started with one vegan handbag brand, Alexandra K, that we still carry. This is back in 2015. She started with a small collection of 3 styles in 6 different colors, and it was a polyurethane, and that's what was available to use. So then as soon as, and I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to tech and materials, so I'm always like trying to find out what's next, what came out. So Pina Tex had come out, I think 2017, which is what they call pineapple leather, but it's a fabric made to look like leather, made out of pineapple fibers. So when the moment that came out, I contacted the fabric company. I got swatches and I contacted Alexandra. I'm like, we should do something with this. This is cool. We need to do something more than just vegan. It needs to be sustainable. Like, this is something it's going to have to grow hand in hand. Because at that time, the brand was really just more vegan. And to me, it was more like, I don't want one or the other. They both have to be always growing at the same time. So to me, sustainability was always probably the main reason I started, was social responsibility and sustainability. As I educated myself, then the vegan part came in.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I didn't really, like, I'm not vegan, but I started because of sustainability. I'm vegan 100% fashion-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say that, and that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And my life has changed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the way I eat has changed drastically from before I started my company. But really, it was sustainability, social responsibility. But that's what taught me to be patient, is because certain things I couldn't get. So I had to wait. You know, we're in the process of developing other lines, and this process has been already 2 years, but it's not necessarily just because we're taking long. It's because, okay, the fabric that we want to use is not ready. They're still in testing. Then we have to go to the factory. Like, all that process takes months and months. So I had to learn to be patient. But I think at the end, to me, it's not about how many brands I have and like I need to grow and be super big. It's more like whatever brand I carry, I trust. So for me, Alltrueist is always a curated boutique.
Right.
It takes time. I'm not going from 0 to 100, but I want longevity.
Right.
That's, to me, the main thing.
Yeah, and that's what's so amazing. And let me just pick out a little bit more about what you just said, when you said that you found this pineapple material, and you know, you contacted the company about that, but then you contacted Alexandra K.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't start making your own bags.
Correct.
You contacted her.
Yeah.
The maker of those bags. And so I find also knowing you for the last few years, is that you're always in collaboration with other people, and you're always helping other people, and you like to do things and create things with other people.
Yeah. It's because, to be honest, I don't know how to design a bag. Like, I studied fashion, the business part of it, but I'm not a fashion designer. I know what I like to see, but I don't know how to make it. And I rather work with experts in the field. Like, okay, I found the fabric that maybe she didn't see it at that time and she was going to see it later on. But I love what she does. Let's test it. You know what? And yes, I've done that with many other brands. But that to me is the exciting part, because I don't want to always rely just on my brain and my creativity. Like, I love what you do. Like, what can you do with this type of thing?
Right. Yeah.
Because two minds are always better than one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that about you. You know, I really do. And I've learned from you from that, you know, and one of the reasons why I really like working with you. I like to learn from you about your passion,
Likewise.
about your patience, about all that stuff. But having said that, so you've worked with many different designers, and but you do have now, after so many years of working with people, which you still always will do when necessary and when you want to, when you find good people that you want to work with, from what I understand. But now you're also doing a few things for yourself.
Correct.
Yeah. So how did that start?
So we're developing our own Alltrueist line, you know, handbags, shoes, knitwear. We've done capsule collections of clothing. And a lot of it came from, to be honest, frustration of working with some brands. So in the sector that I am, that is the niche, sustainable, vegan, a lot of times the brands that emerge are very activist driven, which is great. However, it is still the fashion industry, and you have to know what you're getting yourself into. Being in fashion is not easy. Having a brand, anybody can create a brand, but to be a fashion brand and really work in retail and know how to work with customers in different markets. Because I work with a lot of European brands, they don't really necessarily understand the American market, which is very different. Canadian market is very different than the US market. So all those things you have to learn as a fashion brand. And many times there was frustration, like, okay, we need this, we need that, and it wouldn't listen, or sometimes the company would fold. And I know there was things that, okay, we need this, but I can't find a brand that has the standards that I want.
Right.
Let's say belts. You know, we just launched our belts, but a lot of it was because I kept asking brands, I need belts, I need belts. And you tend to think belts are just like such a staple, but not an important thing. Right. When you think of a fashion line, like, oh my God, belts are going to be top of the list. However, customers want belts, right, and they want good belts.
Yeah.
So I searched high and low, and really at the end of the day, I couldn't find a brand that made the quality that I wanted. So we developed our own, you know. Wow. So we're launching that. We just launched it a few months ago online, and it's made to order. So a lot of what I'm trying to do also is, besides the fabrics that we're going to be using, I'm also thinking about production. I don't want to overproduce. It's retail, so it's a counterintuitive concept. I don't want to sell too much. I don't want to produce too much because I don't want to create waste. I also don't want to, I'm not in the business of selling a million things a day because I know a lot of it will go to waste in customers' closets. I want a customer to buy what they need, what they want, and what they're going to love, and it's going to last them. So what I'm doing is partnering with factories that are really high quality, that tend to be, you know, mainstream manufacturers of leathers and all of that. So to convince them to work with vegan fabrics or other fabrics that they're not used to does take time. Kind of going back to the patience thing. There's a lot of testing they have to see, because to manufacture certain things, it's not the same way that you would manufacture with leather. So it's a different type of steps you have to do. So it's really partnering with factories that can produce high quality. It will last a long time. We can repair things.
Yeah.
So that's really where my own brand is coming, and still partnering with some brands, like, with Claude André Hébert, he's making our perfume, which is a really beautiful 2 perfumes that are launching soon. So I'm always going to partner with people that I'm like, okay, this is something that we can do long term, and really have the standards that we want.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about, I guess it's like your determination, like you're determined, and that passion, you see, I feel like, having been in my own business for so many years, so that passion was the passion that woke me up every day, and people talk a lot about it now, about like motivation and determination, to be like determined to do something. And so can you talk a little bit about that, about your drive, about what energizes you, about what gets you excited, and maybe connect it with the purpose of what you're doing? And
so
it's all connected. I find it's all connected, which is why 100%. I love having these conversations. Yeah. So if you want to like bring it all together, kind of.
100%, it's all connected. And in terms of drive, like and you know me, like I'm not one to give up. Like I'm going to continue until like I can make it happen.
This guy will not give up. I know. I could tell you. I'm like, sometimes I look at him and I'm like, really? You're still going? Fantastic.
So like, again, in the niche that I am, especially, so sustainability, vegan, high end, it's like a niche within a niche within a niche. So It's not necessarily the easiest thing. Clearly, I didn't go in it for like easy money. It's a challenge.
It's a grind.
Yeah, to educate customers. And for me to your question, the main purpose for the business is to create change. So to create change to me means going after the customer that's really not looking for this. Because the customer that is looking for it, they've already made the change in their minds and they're going to find me.
Interesting.
So, vegan customers or sustainable customers find me, and I'm so grateful for that. But the ones I want to go after are the ones that don't have this in their radar, because they're the ones that need to learn more about it, but in a non-judgmental setting. So as a company, we're not perfect. No brand is perfect. We make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. So we don't judge anybody that comes in. It's a journey. Yeah. If at one point you just buy a vegan handbag because it's cute, fantastic. Now you can find cute vegan handbags. So it doesn't mean we change your life with one bag, but every little bit, and every time somebody comes in, as you know, every brand has a story.
Yes.
So we tell that story and people will remember that. Doesn't mean that right away they're going to change 100%, but they'll remember that.
So there's always a story of passion and purpose behind every brand.
Yes.
And then you're like the umbrella of passion and purpose. That's really interesting. Yeah, you are. Like this place and your vision of what you want your business to be and what you want to surround yourself in your life is like an umbrella of purposefulness and passion.
And the great thing about being in this part of fashion is fashion can be sometimes ruthless. And I say that because I've worked in the industry mainstream and I've seen it. But in this part, the sustainable part, everybody is mission minded. So people are nice. And you meet great leaders. Everybody has a lot to teach each other. I think that's why we built a community together, because we all help each other out. We know the struggles. We know that, okay, if I tell her where she needs that fabric, it might make a big difference to her business. So why wouldn't I share it if my point is to create change? I'm not going to keep all the secrets to myself. So it's a community that shares a lot, and it's a much more inviting community that you can communicate with and partner with, versus what sometimes you see in mainstream fashion.
So, your purpose, going back to your purpose, I just had a flash, is obviously to dress people in gorgeous clothing and to make them feel very good in what they're wearing. But it's also education.
Yes.
And it's also teaching. It's learning, because you always want to keep learning.
Always, yeah.
And it's educating your customers.
Yeah.
And opening up their minds, opening up people's minds to other things that might be available for them that will be good for the environment as well.
Yeah. So like educating, just to give you an example, you know, like somebody comes in and I show them, oh, there's a wallet here made out of apple leather. As a customer that has no idea what apple leather is,
Exactly.
You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Always. And the first thing they smell the wallet.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell of apple, but it's made from apple juice waste. So then it just opens a conversation. And if they buy that wallet, they'll remember. If you buy a leather wallet, you won't remember details of where it's made, how it's made.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's rare. You'll remember the brand, but not necessarily the story behind it.
Yeah.
So it's that part that's fun because you see it in their eyes. You're like, oh my God, what? Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
So we try to find brands that really work with interesting materials. So there's always cool things coming out. You know, there's Gina Jax that's coming out with the first plant-based material soon. So that's really cool. And those are changes that eventually, as they scale, will really make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
It's starting. There's mushroom leathers. You know, those are things that we're looking at. Been talking to them for about a couple of years. Mushroom leather, again, most people don't know what that is.
No.
But it's a protein-based leather, but it's made from mushroom.
Wow.
From mycelium. So there was a couple of big companies that partner with luxury brands to do this, investments and all of that.
Wow.
So we're looking at that to develop our own line as well. But it takes time. Yeah. They've been in testing, R&D for now 2-3 years, or even longer than that. And now they're just becoming commercial. So it's, even though we wanted to work with them for years, they weren't ready to produce. So now just this year, they're starting to open factories and things like that.
Things take time.
Things take time.
So you've been able to sustain, I'll use that word again, but in a different way, like sustain, or, you know, to sustain your business all this time, to get to the boutique, to get to this Alltrueist boutique. And where do you see this going? Can you share a little bit? Do you want to share a little bit?
Sure, of course. Yeah. Look, and I've been able to like do this and grow really organically. So we haven't worked with investors, haven't worked with any of that. So we've been able to sustain, not without its challenges. You know, we've had ups and downs like every business. Sure. But really and this is where I don't want to give up. So during like challenging times, I'm like, it was easy to say, okay, you know what, this is it. And as I was hearing in the news, like other brands that were sustainably focused closing, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to keep fighting. So then we were able to turn things around. But really my end goal, and what I wrote back in 2010 on a piece of paper, and that goal is still there, is that I want Alltrueist to become a destination worldwide and have, let's say, like a luxury department store that's really highly curated with its own departments of different brands, like you would see most luxury department stores, but everything sustainable, everything that crosses all our, or ticks all our boxes, basically. Whether it is, for haute couture, for premium men's, women's, home, eventually like even food or things like that. So that's really like, I see it growing because there really isn't anything like it. There's small boutiques like this, but this is not where I want it to stay. I want it to grow. That's amazing. And it's like kind of the opposite, if I may say, of fast fashion. Correct, yeah. Fast fashion. So, fast fashion, and to be fast fashion, look, production is crazy how many things they come out with weekly, like hundreds, if not thousands of collections weekly by certain brands. But at the end is also on the customer, like, okay, if you're wearing it once and throwing it away, that makes it just worse. Yeah. If you're going to buy something... We're going to make a lot of people feel bad right now. No. You don't want to do that. Not at all. But if you buy something from a fast fashion company, that's fine, but use it. Yeah. use it, take care of it. There's a lot of differences in how of the pricing, why production can be lower versus higher. And
Sure.
like this can be a whole show on itself.
Right.
But if you're buying something that's low price, the way it's produced, let's say even just the stitching is a little bit longer than when it's produced with higher quality. The stitching
Right.
is shorter, which will last longer.
Right.
So that just means you have to take care of it a
Right.
little bit more.
Right. Right.
Make it last. You know,
Right.
I've bought from fast fashion brands,
Mm-hmm.
but I take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not, I don't throw it away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
That's
love
great.
whatever you buy.
Love what you
it.
buy.
Yeah.
From wherever you buy it,
Yeah.
love what you buy.
Yeah.
But your passion is never goes away. Like it has
No.
not gone away.
No.
And it keeps getting stronger. And you keep
Yes.
seeing potential.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing
Yes.
from
Yes,
you.
yeah, no, 100%.
That things are coming together.
Yeah, I have to say, like, due to like my mom and my grandma, I was raised by strong women in my family, and always optimists. Always like, okay, let's do
Yeah.
this. We can keep doing it, or whatever you're gonna do, be the best at it. So it was always an encouraging upbringing.
Yeah.
And my mom has always been an entrepreneur herself, so she's a big inspiration for everything that I do. Even when I do certain designs, like I'll have her like visions of when I was a kid and she was wearing certain things, and like the skirt, you know, that pleated skirt is, you know, from when my mom was wearing it in the 80s. She had like this really cool pleated skirt, and I always remember that. So just things will come from my family a lot, of my work ethic and just passion for keep doing things.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. That's where you get it from.
Yeah, you have to
I
meet Mama.
didn't know.
Once you meet her, you'll understand.
Yeah, you talk about her, but I never got to
I
meet
know,
her.
she has to come soon.
Yeah, she has to come visit. So, wow, so this has been great. I can really see how your passion for your work is actually even growing bigger. I feel like it's growing bigger because for you to have the energy to continue in this very difficult environment of fashion and very slow fashion, you have to have a certain amount of strength and courage, you know. So,
but honestly, it's surrounding yourself, because as you know, entrepreneurship can be very lonely.
right.
So it's surrounding yourself with people that encourage you, that
Right.
believe in you.
Right.
You know, that's why I love working with you and
Right.
working with other people, because
Right.
we're all in it together. We
Right.
all know the struggles, but we're here for each other. And
Right.
and I think that makes a difference. And that's for really anybody in any business. You have to surround yourself with positive people, or people that
Right.
can understand, you know, what you're going through, but that you keep pushing each other
Right.
and helping each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so much purpose in your business as well. And your business is you. Like you're very enmeshed with your business. I have to say.
But as it grows, like, of course, you
Exactly.
know. But I want that to always be the case. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
if it's one tiny boutique or 100 stores.
Yeah.
You know, customer service to me is like the biggest thing, and that was a lot of my retail training. Working in certain companies, that just customer service was really the main thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I always want it to be. Again, whether
Right.
it's one tiny boutique or 100, like that
Yeah.
has to be
Wow.
key.
Great. And I think your boutique and your future has a lot of purpose
Thank you.
because you know you're inputting and you're educating people about how to buy things responsibly, how to create things responsibly, and every little bit helps our future in this world that we're living in.
And you know, it's not about just the sale. It's like the after sale. Okay, how are you taking care of your
Right.
things? It's not just, you know, you buy something, I want you to come back to buy another thing. I mean, yes, that's business, but I also want you to take care of your thing. So we always tell, like, okay, this is how you're going to take care of the fabric. Make sure you do this, do that to clean your bags. Like, you have to make it last.
Yeah. Make it last.
Yeah.
That's part of your, you know, your little mission statement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Built to last. That's great. Marcus, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For this time and this interview.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure.
Sharing.
And, you know, this is great. I love the series that you're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.